Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the JMO Show, the JMO Show, the JMO Show. Um, Hi. It's been a couple weeks. If you didn't watch the latest episode of NHL Weekly, you'll know that. You won't know, so I'll tell you now that I've been dealing with some health issues still that has delayed this and another video, another edition of the JMO Show, for almost 2 full weeks. So this video is supposed to come out early last week. It's coming out late this week, but I intend to get them both out, whether they're completely irrelevant now, irrelevant now, or whatever. We're just gonna do them because I told you guys I'd do them, and there's people that I know want to see it. This is a pretty good episode, I think, that we've got, hopefully, for you guys here today. Let's get started with that sweet, sweet music. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to the JMO Show for the first 10 games of each NHL team. We're going to talk stats, give some a little bit of analysis and discussion. The discussion portion, the just my opinion portion for today, is going to be who had the best first 10 games and who had the worst first 10 games of this 2022-2023 season here. I do have... we will not be looking at me for most of this episode. We will actually be looking at this. That is not it. That is it. This is everything that I compiled. You see up here each game leading up to 10, the total of wins and losses, and then the amount of points. And then this column over here is the 10th game played. As you can see, the 27th was the first 10th game played by San Jose, and the last 10th game to be played was St. Louis on November 7th. That is how far back we were supposed to do this. We were supposed to have this out a couple weeks ago. Actually, almost 3 weeks now. 2 weeks, whatever. But anyways, it's coming out now. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it, even though it is a little bit out of date by now. We're almost, if we take a quick look, let me pop this down here. If we take a quick look, and when I say quick, I mean not so quick. So we have 3 teams as of me putting this together on Saturday. So it is a couple days out of date. We've got 3 teams that have played 16 games, and then 3 teams that have only played 12. So some of those teams might have played more games. Some of them may not have. For those 3 teams that have played 16, they may not have played as much this week as the teams that only have 12 games played. I do know that there's been a lot of games going on this week, which sounds like an irrelevant thing to say. Wouldn't you say that there's always a lot of games going on? Not necessarily. There are some weeks where there are significantly fewer games going on than other weeks. It just there might be a week where there's a lot of back-to-back games, or a lot of home games, which also sounds weird. But for specific teams, if you have a lot of home games, they play in a row. They play them more frequently. Like you would have 3 games in 4 or 5 days instead of 3 games in 6 or 7 days. But anyways, so let's get back to this and hop right into it. We already said San Jose and St. Louis starting and finishing the top for first 10 games of the season. Let's go over wins and loss streaks first. As you can see, wins and losses in the first starting at game 1 streaks. Win and loss streaks starting at game 1 are in red and blue. Any other win and loss streaks are in the orangish yellow and the green. So if we start at the win streaks for starts, we had, let's see, 5 teams with 2 wins to start the season: Detroit, Florida, Nashville, New York Rangers, and Pittsburgh. And then we had a bunch of teams start with 3-game win streaks: Boston, Calgary, Carolina, Dallas, Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Vegas. Not Vancouver. Vegas. Definitely not Vancouver. Speaking of Vancouver, loss streaks, we had a bunch of teams with 2 losses to start the season: Arizona, Chicago, LA, New Jersey, Ottawa, and Washington, and Columbus. And then Minnesota and San Jose with 3 and 5. And then there's Vancouver there with 7 losses in a row. I do count overtime and shutout losses in these streaks. There are actually some streaks where they are exclusively overtime and shootout losses. So there are teams that are getting points off of some of these loss streaks. Like if you take a look at the Vancouver loss streak in there's 2 overtime losses. And I believe that's it for the start the season streaks losses. But if we look at game 1 for each team, have only one overtime or shutout loss in the very first match, and that was St. Louis. I really gotta sneeze. Holy crap! Nope, I don't really have to sneeze. I suppressed it for you guys. I didn't want you guys to have blood coming out of your ears from that. Anyways, so that's the win and loss streaks to start the season. All other wins and loss streaks, we've got Anaheim, Colorado, Columbus, New York, Islanders and the Rangers, Pittsburgh, Tampa, and Vancouver, all with 2. Then we have Minnesota, Toronto, and Washington, who have two win streaks in there. So if you take a look at Washington, there's the two wins, and Toronto with the two wins, and then Minnesota as well has 2 win streaks. Yeah. If you can't see my head, let's when I'm trying to say that, it's 2 week streaks, like physically saying it out, like physically mouthing it out to myself. But that's wins. Let's go over to losses for 2, and we'll kind of go in the number of wins and losses. Buffalo, Carolina, Dallas, Edmonton, Florida, LA, Nashville, New Jersey, Tampa, and Winnipeg, all with 2 losses in a row. And then Colorado, Detroit, and Montreal, Colorado and Detroit each having 2 loss streaks. And then Montreal, if we take a look, has 3 2 loss streaks going on, which is just rough. So if we go over to wins, 3 wins, Buffalo and New Jersey each have 2 3-win streaks, and then LA, Tampa, and Winnipeg each have 1 3-win streaks. Moving over to losses for 3, Columbus, New York Islanders, Philadelphia, and Seattle each with 3. Back over to wins for 4 in a row for wins: Vegas, Ottawa, Islanders, and Chicago. 4 losses in a row: Calgary, Chicago, Ottawa again, and Toronto. Which, again, if we take a look at Toronto, they did get 2 points in there during that 4-loss stretch, but it is 4 losses, so it is it's difficult for me to distinguish the 2, like, in my head, because it's like, yeah, you got a point. Like, take Philadelphia, for instance. They had a 3-loss streak, but they got 3 points out of it. you could have had 6 points. Is basically the way that I put it in my mind. Rounding out the top 10 or the top 2 for wins is Edmonton and Boston. Edmonton had a 5-game win streak right at the end, and then Boston had a 6-game win streak right at the end as well. Moving on over to loss streaks, Nashville and Philadelphia with 5 losses in a row, Anaheim with 7, as well as Vancouver with 7, or St. Louis, with 7. Vancouver started the season with 7 losses. St. Louis ended the first 10 games with losses after winning the first 3, lost every single one after that, and if the biggest issue with that is the fact that there was no overtime or sudden death or shoot. Have I been saying sudden death this whole time? Overtime or shootout losses. Very, very difficult to see that many losses in a row without even a single point. That's why they are at the bottom there. Now that we've got the streaks out of the way, well, actually, one thing that I would like to look at, if you take a look at Boston, with that only one loss, in the middle there, they have the most wins, and obviously, it's streak-wise, they've got 2 streaks. You would think that there wouldn't be a whole lot of teams with win and loss streaks, but almost every single team has at least one or at least 2 halfway decent or one pretty decent win streak, and then a bunch of teams with loss streaks in there, pretty significant loss streaks in there. For Nashville has a 5-game loss streak and then a 2-game loss streak. So yeah, if we take all those streaks and all those confusing streaks and everything, just compile all that together, we take a look at our total games played, win, loss, and overtime or shootout losses, and then that all in the algorithm pops up into points. We've got Boston, Vegas, and Carolina. Boston, Vegas, Carolina, as well as Buffalo and Edmonton at the top there with 18, 16, 15, and 2 at 14. And then we got a couple people with 13, Dallas, Winnipeg, and Philadelphia. And then 12, 11, 10, 8 points. And then at the bottom, we've got with 7 or less, so 7 and 6, I believe. For those, it's Anaheim and Nashville with 7, and then Columbus, San Jose, St. Louis, and Vancouver with 6. 3 and 7 for San Jose, 3 and 7 for St. Louis, 2, 6 and 2 for Vancouver, 3 and 7 for Columbus. So technically, it's the team that had a worst record technically would be Vancouver, because they are 2-8 and 0 if you do not count. If you strictly count shootout or overtime losses as a loss, they would be 2 and 8 instead of being 3 and 7. So technically Vancouver at the bottom there. So going off this list, it is very. Let's pop it back over to me. So that is our analysis and statistics side of it. So let's go into the discussion side of it. Really not a big discussion that has to take place. This is going to be a little shorter on the discussion side. There's a significant win rate on one side and a significant loss rate on the complete opposite side. When you have a team that in the standings is in win-loss record is 2, 6 and 2, so technically 2 and 8, and then have a team that, if you inverse that, is actually 1 win better at 9 and 1. There's I literally can't do anything other than give Boston the win for the first 10 games, despite the fact that Vegas is only one win away from them. The key difference being that any of those three losses between Boston and Vegas were not shootout or overtime, so they didn't get any points for that. I believe that if I take a quick look, the only team in the top five to have a overtime or shootout loss is Carolina. Carolina 7-2-1 with 15 points. So like 7-3-1 is Buffalo and Edmonton with 14 points. So if either of those teams had gone to overtime or lost in the shootout, then they would have tied with Carolina with 15. So there's a very clear, like, maybe like one and two being Boston and Vegas, and then you would have, like, if you take a look, Vegas had a 3-game win streak, loss, and then a 4-game win streak. Boston was a 3-game win streak, 1 loss, and then 6 win streak. So the discussion for best team in the first 10 games is a definite Boston. And that is a little bit of egg on my face especially for starting the season off when I had Boston not making the playoffs. This year it's almost it's not a definite. There are 72 more games to be played, and they could lose every single one of them, and then be at the bottom of the standings clearly. But if we're going on this trajectory, which you have to assume they're going to slow down at some point, if it's an 82 game season and we're 10 games in and you're 9-1, like you're putting yourself in pretty good success mode to start the season. The inverse of that being Vancouver, 7 losses to begin the season with only 2 points. They did go on a 2-game win streak and then lost their 10th game. There are other teams that had only 6 points, that being St. Louis, San Jose, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. I have trouble. I have a significant amount of trouble saying anything other than Vancouver is firmly at the bottom, especially with how they started the season. You do have San Jose down there with five losses to start the season, and St. Louis with 7 after winning the first 3 games, lost 7 in a row. And then obviously Anaheim with a 7-game loss streak in there as well. So there are some teams that are doing pretty pretty bad right now. I mean, even the other teams that only have 7 points, Nashville has 7, and Anaheim has 7, and then the other have 6. Then you have 3 teams with 8 points apiece: Montreal, Ottawa, and Arizona. So any of those teams could be at the bottom right now. But I just think that Vancouver has no swagger. They have no desire to win at all. That's just really brutal to watch, honestly, and I haven't been watching it. And so So yeah, that's the first 10 games of the season so far. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a jacket, it's because we don't use heat. And it is snowing like a blizzard. It is a blizzard outside. I can confirm that we are, in fact, in a blizzard. I have the windows open. That's how I'm able to see. But anyways, that's the perks of living in Michigan, I guess. I love the snow. I love the cold, so I'm not complaining at all. Yeah, so that is the first 10 games. I can pop this graphic up to finish today instead of our opener that we usually go with. And I think I am going to leave you with our beautiful, beautiful music. Just kidding. Hey guys, look, it's our music. I keep forgetting that you guys see that. Never mind. So I guess I'm not using that. Turds. Oh well. Well, you guys get to see all my blunders because I don't really do more than one take anyways here. So and it's not because I'm lazy or that I don't want to do it. It's just that it's the best way for me to be as authentic of myself as possible, and promote failure to everybody out there. But anyways, I'll see you guys again soon. I'm gonna clock this up there. I'm gonna hit the music and we're gonna get out of here. Sound good? Great. See you guys later.